because it's something that I never, ever, ever thought that I would have done, because it's been over 30 years that I've been bald, but no one else knew.
Rhythmic like a conga drum. I'm surely flawed, but I'm a child of God.
Welcome to my YouTube channel, Living Stories by Donna Dunlap of Picturing Earth. I'm so excited to share with you the stories that so many people have been sharing with me. The first story that I'd like to share with you is with my dear friend Renee. Renee shared her story of living with alopecia, and you'll be able to click the link below to see that story. But today, I just want to chat with her. Hi, Renee.
Hi, Donna. How are you?
So, why don't you tell everyone about just what led up to why you approached me about telling your story?
Okay. I'm pretty active on social media, and so I always try to encourage people based on what God has placed on my heart or an experience that I've gone through, something that I feel might help someone else. And so one weekend I was in the mirror doing my hair because it's a process, sometimes it can take hours to do. And so I had taken my wig off to wash it, shampoo it, and I was looking in the mirror, and God said, "You always encourage people to be their best or who I created them to be. What about you? Why aren't you doing that?"
Mm.
And so I prayed about it, and then I just kind of shunned it off and said, "Yeah, well, he wasn't really talking to me." And so he just kept ministering and ministering to me, because it's something that I never, ever, ever thought that I would have done, because it's been over 30 years that I've been bald, but no one else knew. And so when I finally accepted the call, it's like, so how could I do this? What's the best way? And so that was what made me reach out to you to get some ideas. What do you think? Should I do a photo shoot? It's my
Yes.
birthday. And so that's kind of what led us to this point.
When you approached me about that,
Mm-hmm.
I was so excited.
Were you?
I was excited for you and just for the opportunity. And I
Mhm.
knew it was going to just be an incredible story to tell.
Mhm.
Now, I do have to admit that I think just the whole idea of you telling your story through the photo session
Mhm.
gave you more courage than you realized that it would. Because
Oh,
after the session,
yeah. Mhm.
before I was even able to finish editing,
Mhm.
you shed your wig. You were like, how do I do it
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
it's done?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
tell me, why do you think that was, that even the photo session itself seemed to empower you?
I was really nervous. I was really, really nervous about it. But I think we had scheduled a session,
Mm-hmm.
and it rained that day, and we didn't get a chance to do the session that
That's
we'd
right.
scheduled.
It wasn't even before I finished
Right.
editing. It was
Before we
before
even did the shoot.
Wow,
Right.
that's right.
Right. And
Okay.
so mentally, I had already had it in my head. Once I embrace something, it's like, okay, I'm full force, full speed ahead. I'm ready to do it. And so I had already wrapped my head around it. And so I was ready. I had talked to my manager at work. I'd shared with my a group of Bible study women that we meet with. And I'd shared with a few of my coworkers, even some pictures that I just, candid shots that I'd taken on my own, just to get more comfortable and to kind of, do that shock factor to see how they would receive that.
Right.
And so, once I was comfortable, I prayed about it, and God said, "Yes, this is what I want you to do." I was ready. Even though it rained, I just went ahead and did a live video and said, "This is me," and took my hat off, and people were able to see that, oh my God, she's bald. And so obviously people thought, I was sick or I was dealing with something else, but it was so freeing.
I have to tell you again, I think you are beautiful, and I think you look better without the wig.
Really?
Yes, I do. I really do.
Okay.
Now,
Thank you.
you look gorgeous in your wigs too.
I
You
love my
know,
wigs.
yeah. And you said that. You
Mhm.
told me that before the session that you probably won't just give up your wigs, but I
Right.
haven't seen you in a
Right.
wig.
I haven't. Hair is an accessory for me.
Okay.
So if I could change the color, change the style or something, I will. But I almost feel like an imposter. It's been so, seriously,
Really?
it's been so freeing.
Wow.
Because being in wigs, I felt like I was bondage. I was chained to those wigs
Right.
because no one knew. And so now, because I feel that I'm empowering and encouraging so many
Right.
women, I don't want to put the wig back on, at least not just yet.
Huh. I like that.
Uh-huh.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
So I think that, oh, I have so many opinions, but without me interjecting my opinion, let me just ask you. Tell me, how did you feel during the process of the session itself, the photo session and the video, because I capture video.
Mm-hmm.
And, because I'm helping to tell a story, I do a little composing,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
but I still believe that it was fresh and real. So explain how you felt during that process.
I was excited even leading up to the process because I was thinking, what props can I use? What can I do to tell my story?
Right.
But you made me feel so comfortable and you coached me through the entire process that I felt free. I felt like, I felt like a movie star, really.
Aw.
I felt like it was all about me. I felt like you went out of your way to get the best shot, whether it was lying down on the ground or standing on a chair or,
I
teetering
do
on something,
that.
teetering on something. But, it made me want to, okay, what's my best pose, and so I'm, so I'm posing but it felt so good. And then I had family members around that were supporting me too, and other people that were encouraging me, okay, do this, do that. And so I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So it was fun. I had a good time.
I'm glad. The jewels that you put on your head, that was your idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to put a plug in for April Wilson, the most magnificent makeup artist ever.
Mm-hmm.
She helped put she put them on your head.
She did.
So, what gave you that idea to do that?
I got that inspiration from a TV show that I watched. Actually, there was models that had stocking caps on, or they, pretended that they were bald, and so that was their expression. And so, because I know that a woman's hair has always, to me, been considered my crown and glory, and so that was just me adjusting my crown. There were jewels in a crown. There were diamonds or mock diamonds as in a crown.
Yeah.
And so that was just me accentuating who I was. So that was where the inspiration came from.
You look like a queen.
Thank you.
It was beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes. And it was your idea also to bring the chains and the handcuffs. And I kept thinking, how will I incorporate this in the session? Because I didn't want it to be literal.
Mm-hmm.
I think we talked about having the wig be tied up in the chains, but we didn't do that. I just felt like it just needs to be natural,
Right.
Yeah. And it was just natural the way that you were just kind of, freeing yourself from the chains, and when it was wrapped around the pose, like jail pose.
Right, right.
But the part where you were walking and you dropped that chain, and I did ask you to drop the chain, but when you looked back, and I didn't ask you to look back, but that look on your face was like, the old is gone.
Mm.
It's behind me.
Mm-hmm.
And then you turned around and you took off that wig. That was powerful.
Thank you.
What were you
Thank
thinking
you.
at that time?
Just to go back even a little bit farther than when I was walking away, when I had the chains wrapped around the pole,
Mm-hmm.
to me that was a struggle of emotions.
Mm.
Should I do it? Should I not do it? Nobody knows, nobody's seen me. So it was just kind of an internal struggle that I had had previously with that. But then when I was walking away and I was able to just snatch that wig off, and we had kind of talked about it, but I think I kind of added my own personality because it's like, okay, this is it. I'm done. And so it was like a weight was lifted off my shoulders because I wasn't defined by the wig. People didn't see the red wig or the pink wig or the purple wig, whatever wig I had. They saw me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I wanted to show or to send. The message that I wanted to send was that it's not about the adorning of the head, but it's about the person inside.
Absolutely. That was powerful. It really was. And that was a beautiful red wig, too.
It felt empowering though. When I flung that wig, it's like, okay, I'm through. I'm done. So yeah, it was fun.
That was awesome. So now you have your own motion picture telling your story of living with alopecia. Whenever I show that film to people, they cry. Most of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling you about the one photographer that I showed,
Yes.
and I looked up and she was full of emotion and tears streaming down her face.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm waiting on her to tell me that it resonated with
Right.
her.
Right.
But she was just moved from your story, even though she herself didn't share that she had any impact from her own self personally or anybody else.
Right.
So tell me, it must have had an impact on people who also are struggling with alopecia.
I think anytime a person is vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
it carries weight. It has impact because so many people are hiding things or holding things inside that no one knows about. And so just the fact that someone else is able to open up,
Mm-hmm.
you kind of empathize or you resonate with that person. Funny thing is, it was my story. I did the video and I had done it, but when I saw it, I had the same reaction when I saw it for the first
Really?
time. I mean, I lay back on my couch and I was just in tears, if you remember.
I remember, yes.
I was in tears.
Yes.
My family was in tears, and it was just very emotional because it was real.
Mm-hmm.
And so since that time, I shared it on social media, my personal social media outlets, and other people have reached out to me and asked, could they share my story? I'm a member of several baldy groups,
Mm-hmm.
and the leaders and the administrators have asked me, will you tell your story? And I did do an interview for one of those sites. But so many people are struggling, and they're wearing wigs or they're wearing weaves, and they don't know that there's somebody else out there like them. And so when they see that video or see those pictures, it gives them the courage to say, maybe I can do that. And that was where I was because I didn't think that I could do that. I would look at people and admire them and say, man, I wish I had that courage. I wish I could do that one day. And God said, you can and you will. I didn't know it at the time, but it was all in His plan. And so because people encouraged me, I want to encourage others because I know that there are people that are struggling, they're suffering, but they don't have the courage to do it. Or they don't feel that they have support. And that's kind of where I was. I didn't have the support. I didn't have family that knew. If they knew about it, they probably would have supported me, but I didn't have confidence in myself to share with them. So I kind of held that dark secret for a long time.
I was just thinking that your story has inspired other women who wanted to share, well, let me rephrase that, other women who wanted to shed their wig.
Mm-hmm.
But I would imagine that it should be inspirational to women who decide to keep their wigs, but may still feel all alone. What do
Mm.
you think?
There are some people that struggle, that wrestle with that back and forth, again, feeling that they're
Mm-hmm.
imposters or just like the way they look in their wigs, which
Mm-hmm.
is perfectly fine. Um, but,
I think that's fine too, liking the way that you look in your wig,
mhm,
but that still doesn't mean that you feel the peace
right.
and healthy emotion about the condition
Mm-hmm.
of alopecia.
Right, right. I met a woman just last week who
Mm-hmm.
lives in Brooklyn, New York, and I guess she'd seen a picture or something on social media, and so we just connected.
Mm-hmm.
And so she calls me her big sis, and I call her my little sis. And so she even sent me a picture of her bald, but she
Mm-hmm.
said that she works in the school system. She's a teacher, and because children can be, pretty candid and pretty mean, she
Mm-hmm.
didn't feel comfortable, unveiling her wig at school. And so people have different reasons, different things that keep them, from shedding their wigs. But she was so glad to know that there were other people. I introduced her to a Baldy group on Facebook. There are other like minded women that are in New York. They're doing a meet and greet. And so she was so excited because she didn't know that there was a
Mm-hmm.
support network. And so hopefully that will encourage her to eventually say, hey, to heck with it, I'm going to shed my wig. But when you have other people around you to support you and encourage you, it's all in God's timing. And so
Mm-hmm.
when the time is right, they will. But I don't think anyone should feel pressured, because, hey, it took me 30 years. And so whenever the time is right, it will happen.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome. We put so much on women, femininity. Did I
Hmm.
say that right?
Yes, you
Probably
did. You
not.
did.
I get tongue tied. But anyway,
But you're right. We live in a male dominated
mm-hmm,
society. Where I work, there are majority men, not to mention a lot of pilots. And so, of course, you see, all these men and you feel a little, inferior at times. But, I've learned to hold my head high and, I get looks. People look at me differently or look at me strange. And sometimes kids, mommy, is that a girl or is that a boy? And so it opens up the door to conversation. I've
mm-hmm.
had people come up to me in the grocery store that don't even know me and, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I'll be praying for you." I said, "Really? What are you praying for?" "Oh, well, and they assume things. And
Yes.
so it just gives me a platform to educate people that everyone doesn't have cancer. Sometimes it's by choice. I've have a lot of friends that have just shaved their heads because they like the way it looks. But, to ask questions, don't just assume and don't feel sorry for me because you don't know my story, you know?
That's awesome. I think it takes an incredible sense of peace with who you are. Um, is it self awareness, acceptance? That's what I want to say. Self
Yes,
acceptance.
absolutely.
Because even for myself, I would
Mm-hmm.
rather wear my hair very, very short
Mm-hmm.
because I don't like dealing with hair,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, but it's because of this. I think
Mm,
that if I have, if I put on a little half wig to make my hair a little bit fuller, people will look at this before they look at this.
mm-hmm.
Where I just want to accept all of me where I am right now. So
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you.
Aw, thank
And so
you.
you
Thank
inspire
you.
even me.
Aw, that's so sweet. Thank you.
Yes.
I think it's all about you're right, it is self-acceptance, but it's loving yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Loving your rolls, loving whatever it is, your double chin or whatever it is,
Yes.
loving it all,
Mm-hmm.
and if you want to add some blush or add some, makeup or whatever, like, now since I don't have hair, I always add my eyelashes. I don't go
Mm-hmm.
without my eyelashes. That's my thing. But still loving who you are, looking at yourself and finding your angle and when you look at yourself, you begin to love yourself. I have a lot of single friends that, want to find a mate and, how do
Yes.
you go out to eat by yourself? How do you do this? I said, if you don't enjoy your own company, then why would someone else enjoy your company?
Absolutely.
So if you don't love
Absolutely.
yourself, why
Yeah.
would someone else love you?
Right.
And so, I talked to a girl that, I found out that she didn't even like herself. And it wasn't anything to do with alopecia. It's just low self-esteem. So we've got to do a sense of self-healing or self-discovery and learn who we are to get to that point.
And you can't do that without really being honest with yourself and
Mm-hmm.
having close friends that you're safe with to be
Absolutely.
honest with,
Absolutely.
And when I say safe, we definitely want to make sure that that person has our heart,
Mm-hmm.
but we also have to um, be willing to be challenged.
Yes.
And so even the logistics of us getting together today,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't get my makeup on. So I see myself even stepping out
Mm-hmm.
and loving myself more because God has definitely put it on my heart to do this channel.
That's awesome.
And it's not always going to be a good time. I'm not always
Yeah.
going to have my makeup on
Mm-hmm.
or,
Mm-hmm.
the right outfit or the right location,
And people don't, to be honest, people don't really care about that. They care about you, your content. What are you saying? How is that going to help me? Is she being real? And that's what resonates with people.
And that's what I want this channel to be about. I want it to be real conversations, living stories. And I had a friend who challenged me to name my stories. She saw what I had been doing and she said, "You need to name them." And I prayed about it and God gave me living stories because I believe that our story lives on.
It does.
You
It
know,
does.
so it's always evolving.
Mm-hmm.
And, not to sound morbid, but one day when we're not here, it still lives in
Right.
others.
And that's what encouraged me to do the photo book that you did for me.
It's your living story treasure chest.
So that is what encouraged me to want to do the Living Story Treasure Chest because, we're all going to leave here one day, but that story will live on. My children will have that treasure chest. My grandchildren will have that treasure chest and their children and so on and so forth. And so it will continue to evolve. Even though I'm not here, I'm still here with them in the treasure chest. So.
Oh, I love it. I love it. All right. So we're going to have to wrap up. We can sit here and talk
I know.
forever and ever. But just to everyone listening, thank you for listening. More living stories coming. So subscribe and hit that bell so you can be notified of the next story. And always picture it and hold it close to your heart.